My name is Joanne Marshall. I'm a professor in the School of Information and Library Science at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I'm also a principal investigator of the workforce issues in library and information science studies. These studies were funded in 3 phases actually, and the initial one started in 2005, and we've just finished the last phase of the research in 2013. The studies were really focusing on the careers of people who graduate from master's programs in library science or information science. Sometimes they're called library and information science or information studies in different locations. But one of the challenges that we have in our field is that we're not, the people who graduate from our programs, say unlike physicians and nurses and social workers, they're not licensed professionals. So they don't have to register every year and give some information about what they're doing and what their salary is and all this sort of thing. So we have very little information about what happens to people who graduate from our programs, and even what whether they stay in the field or whether they leave the field. So finding out about this is very important, I think, for educators. It's important for students themselves who are considering these programs, future students. It's important for employers, and it was very important for the funders, the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Things that I would really like to emphasize about this project for people who might be using the data sets or looking at the project in the Odom Archive. And the first is that in addition to the publications and the ongoing research that's being done with the data set by myself and others, we were actually able to produce 3 different products. And the first one is basically we created a shared alumni tracking system that all programs, all graduate programs in library and information science, and undergraduate programs actually as well, if those exist in the various schools, but that everybody could potentially use to track their alumni. And this is very different from what has been done in the past. Programs did this kind of thing individually, if they did at all, and they were always starting over again, and they were not able to accumulate or create any sort of longitudinal data set. So I think that this is, the system is there, and it's available, and if those surveys were repeated on a periodic basis, then the data from the combined programs could be updated within the Odom Archive, and it would be the basis for a longitudinal data set. So the second product that I wanted to talk about are actually the adjunct materials that we also deposited in the Odom Archive, along with the data sets. So that consists of the survey instrument, all of the programming that went into the survey as far as the skip logic and so forth is concerned. The study protocol manual, the manual that each of the sites got on how to administer the survey, how to select their sample, how to then administer, how to send reminders, how to follow up with non-respondents. All of this has all been mapped out in those documents. Okay, the third product is really a result of the 3rd phase of the project, which we called WILIS 3, and it was all about preparing the data to be archived, depositing those data sets in the Odom Archive, all of the things that you have to be concerned about as you do this. And it was really the first time that we've archived our data sets in an informal way for only our own use before, but to actually prepare something that is going to be used by people who were never part of the original research team, I think is quite different. So we took that experience from doing that in partnership with Odom, and we created an actual guide in the form of a web document. It's called the Willis Guide to Data Archiving for Researchers. And that document is written from 3 points of view: the point of view of the researcher, the point of view of the person who is managing the data as it's being gathered, the data manager, and then the point of view of the data archivist team. But a very, very important partner was the Odom Archive and its staff here at UNC. I think without their help, we would not have been able to recognize the potential of data archiving to enrich the products of our work, and we would not have been able to do it to the same level of professionalism. So I would certainly recommend to other researchers that they seek out these partnerships early in the process of doing their research so that they can plan for this as they go along. When I consider what's going to happen in the future with these studies and with the information, we've had several graduate students, doctoral students who've completed their dissertations using the data, and we have several master's students who've done their master's papers based on the data. So these people are the future, and my hope is that they are going to take some of this research forward.